to a new video and welcome to my new studio. As you can see, I have a completely different setup as I have a completely different room. We moved to a new house and as you know, I work from home, so my studio moved with me. And it took me a few months to organize everything and find placements for everything, especially since now I have two different workstations. I have one for my jewelry and crafts, and I have a different one for all of my art stuff. So I feel like I finally organized everything, and I feel like I finally have a routine, so all of the placements really fit my art style and how I work. So I'm happy to show you the studio, and I hope you enjoy the video. So here is the view from when you walk in through the door. The studio is about 10 by 12 feet. We have a beautiful snowy day today and it's sunny outside, so we have a lot of beautiful natural light in here. I have north facing windows, which is something I actually prefer. It gives you a more consistent light throughout the day. And let's start with my art section first. So you might recognize a lot of the things that came in with me from my previous studio, like this organizational card, and here I have some of my most used watercolor paper, some of the reusable bamboo paper towels. I got a lot of questions about these last time, so I'm gonna try to link them in the description. Some of my craft brushes and the brushes that I use for gouache. As you know, I don't use my good brushes for gouache. Also, it's something like a brush decoy for my son whenever he comes in, so that he doesn't use my good watercolor brushes that are hidden in there. He's just gonna go straight for these if he's up for some project. So down here I have my acrylic paints, I have my gouache, a camera in there that I use for taking pictures sometime, my oil pastels and a palette. Down here I have my framing supplies for oils or watercolors and some like journaling supplies in here. So as you can see, complete mismatch of everything that I had. I've also brought in an IKEA desk that was in my bedroom before. Now I brought it in for a little bit extra workspace. So here I have my office printer. I have a little cubby here with some notebooks, some of the sketchbooks that I use a lot, and my brush case in here. As you know, I make my own brush cases. This was actually one of the first prototypes that I decided to keep because that's when design kind of started coming together. But you can visit my Etsy shop and see some of the newer designs and some of the newer patterns as well. I actually make these right over at that desk, right in my studio. And this IKEA desk has only one main drawer. And here I have all of my main journaling and sketching supplies. I'm still putting together a collection of things that I go for the most when I'm filming for Patreon or when I'm warming up in my sketchbook before my other works or commissions, so that I have stuff that's easy to grab and I don't have to look and sift through all the rest of the drawers. So this is still a work in progress, but I like how it's going. Down there I have some storage boxes and I have my scanner. This one is Epson V550. Pretty much what everybody has. That's at least what I've saw from other artists' videos. And this wall is one of my favorite features here. I put on some of the watercolor swatches from my palette, just as a reminder for my Cellback colors, also like a splash of color on the wall. I have my vision board, which I used to have in my previous studio before I reorganized it, and then there was no room for it anymore. Now there's finally room, so it's back. And a couple of decorative pieces. As you know, I like butterflies, so you're gonna see a lot of butterflies that are kind of scattered around on the walls here and there. You will see some on the other walls too. down here. Just something to add a spark of color, and just because I like butterflies. So the desk is the same desk that I used to have, and I have the same IKEA drawers that I painted before. So not much is different here. A little bit different with the organization here because now I have a wall in front of my desk. As you remember before, I just had like a giant window. So now I can put some stuff away from my desk and have a little bit more of a free space, or some kind of free space because I still piled up a bunch of stuff in here. So right here on the left side I have the same organization with the IKEA pegboard, some art supplies in there, some of my fixatives, a lot of plants as always, as usual. Some of the watercolor mediums and tapes for my sketchbook and for my watercolor paper. The different thing about this spice rack from IKEA is that I finally flipped it the right side, because before it was upside down since this little edge was taking too much space and there's not much you can stack in there. And I just used to keep things on top of that, and I had some baskets hanging from here. But I decided to put it the right side up so I can have some of the books that I'm reading at the moment. As you can see, I like this one, the artwork and how to sell your art online. I also have some of my most used sketchbooks in here. And the rest of the desk is pretty much the same as before. I have just a bunch of knickknacks, a little snack in there, some of my electronics, and extra hard drive. I like that I still have window space in front of me, and I have my plants here, some perfumes to pick myself up if I need a little extra boost of energy. I like these birds from Michael's, some of my sketchbooks and more flowers. And here is kind of a new addition to my art practice. I've recently started focusing more on pencil sketches and pencil pet portraits. And here are some of my recent pieces. There's one fella right there, and this is our cat Thomas we used to have. Unfortunately passed away a few years ago, so this was a memorial piece for him, also all done in color pencil. So I wanted to have my color pencils more easily available and on display, and this painted cardboard organizer is actually organizer from the Arteza alcohol markers. This was just inside of the box, and I believe it was red, and my son just spray painted it gold for me to fit my aesthetic a little bit more. So these are pretty much all of the pencils I own. I don't have that much. So these down here are kind of the most vibrant ones. I mostly use open stock pencils like Prismacolor, Faber-Castell, Luminance. And up here I have the ones that I use the most for my pet portraits, so that are easier to look for specific colors. Okay, sorry, I ran out of battery, but I think this is where we left. So my watercolor pencils, some smudging stumps here. I use an old brush for cleaning up the, the eraser shavings from my desk, because this prevents smudging the pencil from the paper. Works nicely. Some cute little decorative pieces. This one actually came in with my son's slime. I don't remember where he got it from, but he told me that I can keep it because I like Starbucks. Alright, and excuse nail polish. Here I have some of my most used ink pens, some extra pastels. We can actually open this little container here. So here's some of my makeup sticks from the dollar store. I use these for pastels, and some extra pastels, and pretty much all of the ink pens that I own at this point. I kind of downsized on my collection. I don't need as many anymore. I don't focus on the botanical ink illustrations as much. So this is just pretty much all that's left. Alright, to continue down here on the desk, I have some of the smaller pencils here in the smaller jar, just so they don't get lost in that big box. Some pencil shavings for the pencils that don't fit into my Boss Stitch pencil sharpener. So I need to sharpen them manually. Something like luminance. Derwent drawing pencils don't fit into a regular pencil sharpener, so this is just for extra manual sharpening. On my sketchbook, so this is actually from my latest Patreon video. You can see the tutorial for this one, and this I left open on my desk, and my son just left me a little note saying good job. I think it's funny. He knows that he's not allowed to paint in my good sketchbooks, because I have the ones that he kind of can paint in, but he just knows that something with a good paper is what I use for my videos and stuff, so he just tries to at least add something to them that I'm not going to be mad about. Well, kids. Right. I really like this guy. I took the reference photo from iStock because I wanted to do something kind of more funky, something more loose to inspire future clients that would commission portraits for their pets, to use unconventional poses and just to do something more fun. And up here on the shelf I have some extra pencils. These are General's charcoal pencil. I think they call it pastel chalk. Let's check. Yeah, pastel chalk. Some extra regular pencils and some Prismacolor Color Erase pencils. I have my Chinese ink and some dip pens for sketching sometimes. This is my favorite art book, just for some quick inspiration and just a little bit of reading whenever I need to kind of get a little bit of visual reinforcement. I also like this little frame. I've collected some of these flowers over the time and they were always in my book, and then I bought this frame, the glass frame, and it had, I think it had a stand or it had a chain how it was supposed to be hanging. Well, it broke off, so there is no use for it, but I like how I can display it now, and hopefully I will collect more flowers for it from our garden. Alright, moving up on the wall, here I have some extra stuff for my pencil drawings. I recently tried this pencil touch-up texture. It works really great for whenever you overwork the area or you need to add some extra layers. I'm also excited to try this gold pigment. This is just a dry pigment that you mix with water, and it looks really good on paper, so I want to see how I can add this into my artwork. I'm still kind of experimenting with it. And just a little extra thing. This is my white gouache. As I know, I don't keep my gouache on the palette. I mix it with the blending medium and then I just freshly squeeze it for my painting, just so I don't have it contaminated. And here I have some of my liquid acrylics. These are great for doing the underpainting before you do oils, because these dry quickly, these are very vibrant, and they're pretty much ready to go. And I have some of my Neocolor tools for sketching in there. And the rest of this wall has kind of a mix of things. Some of the things were presents, like this thing was a present, this thing was a present, this was made by my dad. He is a woodworker and he does amazing carvings and amazing designs, and he made it for me because the line is a symbol of my hometown Lviv in Ukraine. So a few years back when I was visiting, he made me this piece, and I never really had a good place to display it properly, and finally I have this big studio and this nice wall, so I think it fits perfectly in there. And this hydrangea is original watercolor piece. It's available for purchase if you want it. This landscape is also original piece and it's available on my website. And this iris is available for purchase if you want it. It's original watercolor. And I really like how this wall came together and this whole area. I feel like I don't have too much, but I do have enough supplies out to have them kind of in front of me and to reach for them a little bit easier. And down there, everything is pretty much the same. So I have these IKEA drawers. Oh, nothing there. I have my window mats for when I sell my artworks. I like to keep them in different sizes and different colors, kind of ready, available. And I like to buy them whenever our store has them on sale, just a lot cheaper this way. Here's some extra watercolor paper, tracing paper, some drawing paper. I don't even know what's in there, to be honest, anymore, because this is not the stuff I reach for often at the moment. Here are some of my electronics, some of my camera stuff that I use for filming my tutorials, and just a bunch of batteries and things. And some things stuck down there. Here I have some of my handmade paper that I've collected over the years. Sometimes I do commissions on handmade paper. I also have some of the watercolor cards, like postcards, a drawing tablet, and my tracing tablet, the one that lights up. I forgot the proper name for it. And down here I have some business files in there, my tracing paper, my big watercolor palette. Oh, let me reach for it. Yeah, that's the big one. That's whenever I do really big drawings. I mean paintings. It's a little bit easier that way. This is my fancy trash bucket. Just making stuff work for me for this little space. And these little drawers, the same stuff. Kind of a junk drawer on the bottom with some of the craft paints. In here I now have more of the watercolor and drawing paper that I use kind of the most these days. So this is my favorite watercolor paper. It's a little bit cheaper than buying them in blocks when you buy them in pads, because this one is not glued on all four sides. Some Bristol paper. And here's one that I've been enjoying the most for pencil drawings. I don't know how to say that. Arnhem, whatever that is. This is 100% cotton paper. It has beautiful texture. It is pretty thick, you can see, and it takes quite a lot of layers and kind of velvety to the touch, so I really like this paper. This is my favorite drawer because it has all of my watercolor paints, my gouache paint, some of the tubes that I then squeeze out into my watercolor palette. So this one is just packed with all of the watercolor supplies. Up here I have some of my inks, markers, and washi tapes, mainly for sketching. And up here I have my pencils, some extra ink pens, and some just extra office stuff. I have these funky scissors. Can we zoom in? Yeah. Just make cute edge whenever I'm kind of collaging in my sketchbook. And that is pretty much it for this side. Oh, I still have one more organizational card, the same one that I had in my previous studio. This one has more of the painting mediums, some of the papers and kind of extra stuff for covering the desk whenever something is messy, my gloves in there. This is my oil palettes, and this butcher tray I put on my table whenever I work with messy things to keep the liquids in here in case something spills over. And here on our other windowsill I have some of my stuff on display. I have this plant that is trying to survive. It didn't do well when we moved, so lost quite a lot of leaves. Hopefully we'll be able to rehabilitate him. And here are some of my most used brushes for my oil painting. More plants, of course. Some extra rolls of paper, and forgot what these are called, like big sheets to cover your floor if you're working on something. And also in here I have one of my aprons that I make. This is one of the older design. The new one has 9 pockets in the front. There's another row of pockets here added now. But this one still works for me, and I really like this fabric and this pattern. And another exciting addition is that I now have a closet in my room here, in my art room, for all of the extras. I have now my shipping supplies, my printer lives here in the closet. I have a better organization for all of the fabric for my projects. And up here I have a lot of the extra stuff which used to be either in a closet or my bedroom before, or in the basement, so it wasn't easily accessible, but now I have all of the extras in here. And we can move on to the other side of my room. So on this desk that actually used to be in the hallway in a previous apartment, I am now doing all of my sewing things and all of the jewelry projects. Also some of my watercolors are drying here. We'll just use this as extra workspace if I'm not sewing anything in the moment. So down here, this is just some of the jewelry stuff and some of the extra papers that I have. And this bookshelf, this cubicle, was actually the IKEA one that I used to stand vertically in my room, and I stored a lot of books in there. Now I have books on the shelves on top, so I can use this for extra storage. Some of the bracelets I'm making, some of the storage for all of my beads in there, and just a bunch of mess, I guess. And up here I have some of my most used threads, some books for inspiration. I have more books in there for jewelry pieces. This is my sewing machine, some of my sewing supplies in there. I use these brackets for installing my shelves, and I wanted to make some kind of a shelf underneath. But I didn't have anything on hand, so I just stuck a yardstick in there and put some of the hooks from the IKEA pegboard and some other IKEA stuff. And I just hung it up here, and I have a little shelf on there too. And, you know, kind of improvised, but it works. And up here, my threads, some books. And here I have some of the paintings. Sometimes I put my paintings on display, like this pair is mine. But this one and this one were from Michael's. I just really like them and like how they fit with the aesthetic from my studio. And up here I have all of my art books and more. These shelves were kind of handmade. We just bought just plain raw boards, and I stained them and prepped them for the studio because I wanted to use this space on this wall as much as possible, so we tried to really get them as long as possible. And I also like the thick boards, so these are really hard to find with already pre-made in the size that I wanted. So these fit quite a lot of books, and also some plants and some extra art supplies in these bins. I can probably do another video separately just on books. And I have quite a lot for oil painting. I also have a lot for watercolor painting, so let me know if you want to see some of them, and maybe one day I'll film a separate video with just the books. Also, here are some extra tarot, astrology books, and some of my just little favorite knickknacks. Down here I have some of my headpieces for whenever I need to get my hair out of the way, some of my makeup, because I like to do it at my desk. Some of the essential oils when I need to set the mood with my diffuser, some of the incense here, and hello. And on the wall here I have some of the extra of my landscape prints. These are actually available on my website. This print was from another artist. I don't remember her name right now, but if I do, I'm gonna put it in the description. This piece is also hers. And on this little shelf, I have some of those scrap papers that I can use for swatches and stuff. These are all of my oil paints. Down here are all of my sketchbooks, because you can never have enough sketchbooks, right? And here this is just organization for some of the loose paper pieces and that kind of stuff. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is this wine rack that I turned into marker storage. So these wine racks I got from Target. These are two separate. I got from Target for I think $3 each, and I just tied them together. And when I saw it, I thought, you know, it's gonna be perfect organizer for markers. It's a little bit too big, but you know, kind of works. It works easier for larger markers like Tombow markers, because something that's short like Posca markers, they kind of slip away a little bit too much on the other side. Sometimes they fall behind the stand, but you know, it's still cute and works fine. So this pretty much concludes the studio tour. I hope you enjoyed my new studio. Let me know if you have more questions about some of the stuff that I mentioned, or if you want me to leave any links for anything that I missed. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really like looking at other artist spaces, so I was excited to share my own and how I organize it. It was kind of the same furniture but just in different ways now. So I hope you enjoy it. Leave it a like if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.